His meddlesome and caring nature was just right for me. That's what I thought when I married my second husband. Yes, I had been married before, but I lost him too soon. Although I had decided to carefully save the insurance money from my late husband, my current husband decided on his own to use that money to buy a new house as a wedding gift for our eldest son. He told me that if I disagreed, we'd get divorced right away. It was my money after all, so of course I couldn't agree. Yet, I had no choice but to listen to him. The ray of hope in my life came from an unexpected man. My name is Sophia. In my late 20s, I met a man at a company supporting language exchange and married him. My husband was very earnest and trustworthy. I thought he was a wonderful husband I could rely on. He was 2 years older than me, and he had accomplished quite a bit at work. By his early 30s, he had already become a manager, and there were even whispers about him becoming a director. So, I believe he was earning quite well even back then. I supported my hard-working husband, never cutting corners with my household chores. We both wanted kids, and we planned to start trying when his job became a bit less hectic. However, just as his busiest period at work was coming to an end, an unbelievable tragedy struck. I got news that my beloved husband had collapsed suddenly in his office. I had felt for a while that he was getting tired, but he himself always said, "It's busy right now, but things are gonna settle down soon. Just gotta hang in there." He insisted it was just fatigue. But maybe that was just to put me at ease. In reality, he had a health issue. He was immediately taken to the hospital, and I rushed there, but he passed away soon after. Even though we were in different departments, we always talked and were close at home. I couldn't believe that he was gone just 5 years after we started dating. I regretted not noticing his health issues and felt powerless. I was devastated and so shocked that I had to take some time off work. After a few months, I managed to return to work, but I felt like I was just going through the motions. Perhaps my spirits were just constantly down. I became quite sloppy with my household chores. I'd leave things scattered around, even valuable items that should have been locked in a safe were left out in the open. Laundry was left untouched, and I only cleaned if things got really dirty. Perhaps it was a reaction to everything that had happened. The insurance money from my husband was $1 million. He earned a lot, and that money was transferred to me. But honestly, I didn't need that money at all. All I could think about was wanting him to come back to life. I've been able to keep working just to stay alive, but I felt that if I stayed this way, I'd never meet anyone again. But then, a man who brought light into my life appeared. It was someone from another company I occasionally met through work. That man, named Robert, was always genuinely concerned about me. Every time we met, he'd go so far as to ask, "What did you eat today? You have to eat properly, you know. If you're up for it, let's go for a delicious steak sometime. You need to keep your strength up. Let me know when you're free. I'd like to make it happen as soon as possible." I must have looked really down for him to say that, but his caring nature made me happy. Gradually, I found myself drawn to him and confessed my feelings. However, he had been married before and had a child. Both of us were of an age where if we started dating, marriage would be on the horizon. He wanted to clarify this with me given his circumstances. He always talked about his eldest son, Michael, saying, "He's the pride and joy I've worked hard to raise." Though he wasn't my child, I believed I could love him because he was Robert's son. The son named Michael already has a fiancée and has moved out of the house. I suggested, "Maybe we could meet once?" and arranged to meet Michael. At first, when our eyes met, Michael seemed hesitant, but it was probably just nerves. Soon after, we engaged in various conversations, and we hit it off pretty quickly. Michael and his wife apparently share the same dream, talking ambitiously about wanting to work globally someday. Hearing such stories, I was deeply moved, and thanks to that, I started dating Robert. Gradually, I realized my spirits were lifting. After dating for about 3 months, we decided to get married. By the time we moved in together, maybe some of my laziness had worn off. However, compared to when I was with my ex-husband, things were still a bit messy. But Robert didn't seem to mind too much. I'd often leave valuables on the table as usual, but he never really said anything about it. I felt like I was having a comfortable time, but that feeling didn't last long. On the contrary, due to my lingering carelessness, I ended up facing some serious troubles. Even after getting married, Robert's overly meddlesome nature continued. However, at some point, this trait began to feel burdensome to me. Robert wouldn't usually comment on the minor messiness in household chores, but he would sometimes come home saying, "Hey, Sophia. I bought some cakes today. Make sure to eat a lot. You need to have some sweets once in a while." He would buy things I hadn't even asked for, and at times, he would force me to eat them. On bad days, he would bring home cheap-looking purses and say, "I thought this would suit you, Sophia. Start using it from tomorrow." To be frank, I don't think it suits me at all. The style is questionable, and it's not even the shape I prefer. It's nothing but a nuisance, really. However, he certainly made me feel like he was doing me a big favor. I'd always gratefully accepted his gestures, and now I felt trapped, unable to refuse his help. However, as this pattern continued, I started to feel more and more stressed. And then, for the first time, probably ever, I confronted him. It was when he brought home some sort of gourmet delicacy, claiming it was for my sake, even though I wasn't really fond of it. He was quite pushy about it, saying, "Sophia, you should try this and develop a taste for alcohol. Life's more fun when you enjoy a drink. You've got to appreciate flavors like this to truly savor alcohol." I finally snapped back. "You know, you don't have to go out of your way for me. I didn't even ask for this." But Robert replied, rather angrily, "What? What gives you the right to say that? Do you even realize how much I've done for you? You should be grateful." Hearing that, I was left with mixed emotions. I had just tried to communicate my feelings, and he responded by calling me arrogant. I considered discussing it further, but just a few days prior, there had been happy news. Michael, Robert's son, had gotten married to his girlfriend. Right after that celebratory mood, I didn't want to pick a fight, so I reluctantly held my tongue. However, from that day on, Robert stopped buying me things. In some ways, it was a relief, and I began to hope that maybe he had reflected on his actions. I tried to remain optimistic, thinking we could reconcile soon. But then, on a day when we both had off from work, he dropped a bombshell. It was on a day when both of us had off from work, Robert suddenly said to me, "I've decided to gift Michael a new house as a wedding present. I'm sorry for any confusion. How can I assist you further?" After all I could think was, "A new house? Do you have that kind of money?" But then he responded with a laugh. "Sophia, don't play dumb. You have $1 million, right? I know because I saw that check you left out. You might have thought you were hiding it from me, but I'm on to you." I was shocked by his audacity. Indeed, due to my carelessness, I had left my check on the table before. He must have seen it, I guess. But that's money that no one but me should use. "Wait, isn't that my money? What are you talking about?" Of course, I naturally pushed back, but what he said next was just unbelievable. "Your money? What are you on about? Do you have any idea how much I've done for you over the years? I married you out of the kindness of my heart, didn't I? You owe me at least this much. Besides, it's for Michael, who is practically your son too. Since you have that money, I'm just gonna use it. And just so you know, I've already made arrangements to buy the house. I'm the primary name on the deal, and the only thing left to do is to update the bank account details." As if he'd planned it all along. Being told something like that so forcefully left me at a loss for what to do. But, in truth, the insurance money from my ex-husband is my money, so I should just outright tell Robert that and make sure he doesn't use it. However, I guess I was still emotionally vulnerable at the time. I had honestly taken his words about doing this for my sake to heart. There's no denying that his personality had helped me through some tough times. Thinking about that, I couldn't argue back. But that doesn't mean I'm okay with Robert using the insurance money from my ex-husband. With my emotions in such turmoil, he delivered the final blow, saying, "By the way, if you don't let me use the insurance money, we're getting divorced." He said this with quite a bit of arrogance. In that moment, my trust in Robert began to crumble. But I felt helpless to resist. Naturally, Michael and his wife would be thrilled with such news, so I felt like I had no allies left. Given the circumstances, I found myself wondering if I just had to resign to the fact that the $1 million had become his. With these thoughts, I gave no reply and just went to bed that night. My mental state was in complete darkness. But a glimmer of hope was brought to me by a man. The next day, I received a call from a certain gentleman, and I was able to pull myself out of the darkness. You could say my perspective changed. It led me to make a decision. The day after the call, I spoke firmly to Robert. Robert, I'm sorry about yesterday. For now, let's proceed with our discussions through this attorney. I handed him the business card of a divorce attorney. He looked quite surprised. He had brought up the topic of divorce himself, but probably didn't think I would actually go through with it. Hey, are you serious? To be honest, he was taken aback. But I really want to divorce him. However, arguing with him wouldn't lead to an easy divorce. So, I told him. Don't worry, I'm leaving the check here. With that, Robert's expression seemed to lighten up a bit. But he probably never expected that I'd go to such lengths to ask for a divorce. Well, do as you please. I'll make sure to buy a house for Michael. Saying that, he took the business card. I started preparing to move out. The next day, I left the house. Still, Robert probably thinks I'll come back soon, and he's probably filled with pride, thinking he's doing Michael a favor by buying him a house. But that's never gonna happen. Robert really doesn't get it, I thought, chuckling to myself. It was just a week after I left the house. I got a call from a certain lady. It was from a woman, none other than Robert's ex-wife and Michael's real mother. Sophia, right? Nice to meet you. I'm Juliana, Michael's biological mother and Robert's ex-wife. I was shocked. Why would Robert's ex-wife suddenly call? I wondered if she had some grudge against me. But no, she actually had an interesting story to share. It seems Robert's in a tight spot. Starting with those words, she explained to me the reason she decided to call. Apparently, Robert, despite signing a contract for a new house for Michael and his wife, hit the reality that he couldn't afford it. What happened? Where's the check? Where's Sophia? Robert was in full-blown panic. I suppose that makes sense. I currently have the check. Sure, I did tell Robert I'd leave the check, but I never mentioned it was my check. All he needs to think is that I meant to leave Robert's own check behind. It might be a bit forceful of a way to do things, but unless I do this, I won't be able to get away from him and I'd risk him using that precious $1 million. Moreover, Michael himself never really wanted a brand new house to begin with. Yes, the man who called me that day was Michael. He told me, "My dad just started talking about buying a house without even asking me. It's always been this way. He'd do stuff for me without me asking, then demand gratitude, and then expect something in return. Sophia, or should I say Mom, haven't you experienced the same?" That's what he truly felt. According to him, the main reason Robert got custody was simply because his wife at the time didn't have the financial capability. Robert had told her to focus on housework since he would work and provide for them. But maybe it was too overbearing and uncomfortable for her. I feel the same. And that's why she decided to divorce. Michael had no choice but to go with Robert, but he always looked at his father with those feelings. However, after getting a job and getting married, Michael always told Robert about his plans to work and live overseas with his wife. Despite them expressing this, Robert seemed to have stopped them by offering to buy them a new house. Michael and his wife were just fed up, and that's what he confessed to me. Hearing that, I recalled something. The first time Michael met me, he had a hesitant expression. It wasn't just nerves at the time, he was probably concerned for me. Anyway, with that said, I too had my reasons for wanting to move overseas. Mainly for work, as I had interacted with various foreigners and had grown an interest. But more than that, I just wanted to be far from Robert. I understand he might not be pleased about the check situation. Honestly, I've done nothing wrong, but if I were still in the US, he might come after me. So, the best option seemed to be to go abroad where he absolutely couldn't reach or contact me. The idea occurred to me after Michael gave me a call. And so, now Michael, his wife, and I are in France. When I explained my situation to my employer, they were understanding and allowed me a temporary leave. Given this context, Robert couldn't reach out to Michael or me and had no choice but to call his ex-wife. Michael had told his real mother everything and had even shared my contact details, just in case. But thanks to that, I heard Robert got himself into some hot water. Now, he had no choice but to back out of the new house deal, facing a penalty of close to $100,000. Of course, he doesn't have that kind of money, which led him into instant debt. Perhaps this ordeal made him realize a bit about his nasty personality. In the blink of an eye, he lost his wife and son, and even his money. Moreover, he tried consulting with his colleagues, but given his annoying nature at work, they only made light of his situation, saying things like, "Well, that's some tough medicine, huh?" Nobody seemed willing to help him out. His self-centeredness had led him to this, not understanding others' feelings. Now, it seems he's working multiple part-time jobs from dawn till dusk, trying to repay his debt. As for me, I can speak French due to my job, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my life in France.